Well, Dalia Fahmy is an associate professor at Long Island University. She's in New Jersey now. Thank you so much for coming on the programme.
Thank you for having me.
So first of all, just what's your reaction to what we've just been hearing?
You know, it's both shocking that it got to this extent, but it's not really surprising. There's been rumblings on the ground for a couple of years now. The King Abdullah has been a king who has undertaken quite a bit of economic reforms, but not political reforms, especially since the Arab Spring. And so for his half-brother, the former crown prince, who was former because the king himself removed the title 4 years into his reign, to be meeting with tribal elders and listening to their discontent with this king comes at a time where Jordan's been hurting economically. And this is a king that's been touting economic reform. Jordan's foreign debt has reached 35 billion US dollars, which is actually 95% of the country's GDP. And this increase is really due to several challenges happening in the region today: a decrease in tourism, his increased spending on the military, the pandemic, and of course the decade-long refugee crisis.
Well, sorry to jump in there, but given that long list of problems that you've just listed, and clearly criticism amongst influential people in the country, but do those two factors amount to a coup attempt?
It might not be a coup attempt, but it definitely signals a rift within the government and especially the kingdom itself. Again, we just saw a cabinet reshuffle about a month ago due to corruption. And so when the former crown prince says this is a government that's full of corruption, that there is nepotism, he's indicating a rift that society has been talking about. You remember the late King Hussein, the father, was very popular among the people because Jordan was economically stable. Today, you have an IMF loan that required great austerity measures to be met by 2001. So you have pain felt within the country, and you're seeing language that this king today is not measuring up to his father. The former crown prince, who the late King Hussein wanted to become king eventually, is now appealing to those within the government and in the tribal elders and in society who see him as the connection to the late father, moving away from the current king.
Well, do you think that criticism of Prince Hamza, as yet someone who's bitter, was passed over all those years ago, could therefore his criticisms, whether legitimate or not, be cast aside because of that?
It could be, but on the other hand, he's also reflecting some of what's being said in the public, especially among those that have been ailing and hurting the most, which are the shrinking middle class and the tribal elders. And so he's reflecting something that's been said, but for him to say it and for him to put out a video in English really targeting the international community is really quite telling at this moment.
Yeah, really extraordinary developments. Dalia Fahmy, thank you so much for coming on.